Welcome to the Grappling Grappling Rewind podcast.
Welcome to this special live from ADCC East Coast Trials Day 1 recap episode of the Grappling Rewind. Today we are live. We're not really live. It's the evening after the first day of ADCC Trials on Saturday in Atlantic City. We're going to talk about what we saw today for ADCC East Coast Trials, talk about what we're going to see tomorrow. We have 16-person brackets for the men's 66, 77, 88, and we have 8-man brackets for the men's 99 under 99 kilograms, 99 kilograms. The women's under 60 kilograms and over 60 kilograms are 8-person brackets. We're going to recap all that, talk about trials. Again, this is With Any Recap Show. I'm your host, Maine, joined with
Zach.
How you doing, Zach?
Tired.
Yep, it's about 11:30 at night right now after getting up at 6 a.m. for weigh-ins, so we've had a very long day. Again, we were here live at the event. We have all the brackets up. We're going to talk through what we can of that, knowing full well that we watched probably close to like 700 matches, 500 to 700 matches today live. We are going to get some things wrong here and there. We have not.
Your math is way off.
We have not had a chance.
500 matches? No, there was like 500 to 700 people competing.
And each had more than one match.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, so we had
Fair.
So, like, again, we have not had time to recap and, like, rewatch any of these, or really a couple of them aside from a few. So we're going to get some stuff wrong, but we're going to talk about just generally the whole event and what you can expect for tomorrow if you happen to watch this, listen to this from the time it goes out to tomorrow. So,
or if you're listening throughout the week, you can hear how wrong we were.
Yeah, but our predictions. Those are. I honestly love, like, making predictions and then being right. And I love being wrong because it's like,
we're in Atlantic City, so we had a discussion earlier today where Maine is convinced that he is a super genius that can win consistently sports betting, but yet openly admits how we can never get predictions right when it comes to jiu-jitsu, which, you know, you would think that those two things would line up in his head so that he'd be like, wait, I can't ever predict who's going to win a jiu-jitsu tournament. It's the thing that I pay the most attention to and watch for hours and hours every week. Maybe I shouldn't bet on it.
I mean, my predictions are definitely the best of anyone on the show because I'm on the show the most and then watch the most jiu-jitsu. But aside from that, again, if it's not very clear from this, Zach and I are very tired. We're sitting here in the hotel room after about a 15-hour day.
It's a long day.
And I'm super excited for tomorrow, but I'm just very, very tired going into tomorrow.
Let's get into it.
All right, Zach,
so that I can go to bed.
So let's start this beginning of the day. We woke up. We had Brad weigh in, Mike weighed in at 6:30 in the morning, or 6 in the morning downstairs. That was cool to see, like, all of the guys weigh in. Everyone was, like, very cordial and very tired as well because basically guys wanted to weigh in and rehydrate. The event was scheduled to start at, like, I think 10. Yeah. It got cracking at about 11:30. Because I have a post on the Grappling Rewind Instagram of the line to get into the venue.
It's pretty brutal.
Was probably, if you know the showboat in Atlantic City, it was from the lobby all the way almost to the other side of the entire building.
It was a lot. And then, I mean, they did the best they could with
it.
There was just a lot of people. It was a lot of fighters to check in.
Yeah.
And so things got a little... I mean, at this point in my jiu-jitsu career, if anything starts on time, I'm flabbergasted. So starting an hour late is actually not that bad overall.
No, it wasn't terrible. And everyone got situated, and, like, everyone kind of, like, got the nerves subside and then began competing. And some really great matches. Again, hundreds of great matches. We're going to touch on just a couple of them and really go through the brackets that we have for tomorrow's event.
Just mention some interesting things. Yeah. People that have looked really good. And some of the obvious things.
Yeah,
so
but it was...
Starting with 66.
It was a very early morning for me.
Yeah.
I'm not a morning person. Let's go to 66 kilograms. Gianni Grippo.
The most relevant thing to mention in this bracket is the, like, attempted murder on Gianni Grippo that he then immediately won off of. And so
Anthony Burchak. In Gianni Grippo's round of 64. And by the way, he's in 66. So we're talking, I think he's 3 matches in already at this point. This would have been the second to last match he had on day 1 before his match with Marsh on the final match to make it into the round of 16. He has Anthony Burchak's back.
Like, Burchak was his second match.
It was the second match on?
Yeah, it was the second match.
So Burchak's on his back. Or sorry, he's on Burchak's back. And he locks the body triangle, and Burchak stands up to, like, slam.
Which is fine.
Which
if
is
you
totally
slam
legal.
Backward.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I forget to say, I also went to the rules seminar yesterday and the athlete seminar for rules and for, like, strategy. And then I went to the athlete's actual, like, rules meeting as well. I had numerous people stop me and ask me the rules because they recognized me from one of those meetings. And it was cool because I was actually able to answer the rules effectively, and like that was neat. So in ADCC, this is going to come up a couple times today. You can slam. You can slam under only the threat of a submission. So, and they mentioned in the athlete meeting that if there is a slam and the person's in the process of slamming and the person who is submitting the person begins to let go of the submission, you can no longer slam. This will come up later. So Gianni Grippo is on Anthony Burchak's back. Burchak has stood up. Gianni. Whew, it is late. Gianni Grippo has the body triangle and a deep, deep rear naked choke. And Burchak goes, I'm going for it.
But the thing is, a slam's fine from this situation, but the way that you would normally slam and the way that you would legally slam from this under normal conditions, I guess, is to go backwards. So like you sort of jump up in the air and you throw yourself back so that you're taking their back to the mat.
Marcelo Garcia versus Rico Rodriguez. Yep. If Marcelo were to have the choke, and that slam was illegal, but back in the day, so they didn't actually DQ them.
Yeah.
But you can't.
That's right. It makes sense, right? You go backward.
A backpack slam.
If you go forward, it's usually considered spiking, which is very illegal in like every combat sport in existence.
The big difference between slamming and spiking is slamming is typically back, like they hit their shoulders and back. Mm-hmm. Spiking is you hit with
top
the
of the
head first. And
going top of the head first.
Top of the head first.
Right.
Yeah.
And so if you have someone on your back like a backpack and you dive forward like you're diving off of a diving board, then their head is going to the mat first, which is typically considered spiking. And it wasn't called here. And Grippo hit on his neck and shoulder.
On his face.
Essentially his face and shoulder, not on the top of his head. So I guess, like, by the books, it's probably not spiking because he didn't land on his head. But if your rule is they have to actually land on their head, then it's not much of a rule because that's what you're trying to prevent, right? And so it ended up not getting called, but Grippo was a fucking champion and kept the sub and finished it in like, I don't know, another 10 seconds maybe.
No, less than that. He was in. Burchak didn't jump until he was very, very deep in the sub, and like there was not a whole lot.
And Grippo was rightfully pissed after the match, like very rightfully. Like he should have been. Dude fucking tried to paralyze him for life. Like it was a weird thing.
So I saw this. I've seen this slam happen a couple of times, and I've seen it happen. There's a Chinese or Japanese organization that I saw it happen repeatedly, and a guy just like ate it and was like fine. Eventually got the sub, but it was like 3 times where the guy just went for it. I've also seen it happen where the guy gets knocked out and other guy wins. There was no paralysis in that one, but again, I've seen this happen a bunch of times. It's super risky. It's super dangerous. It's I'm very, very happy that Gianni Grippo didn't get hurt. Well, he probably got hurt a little bit, but didn't get.
It looked like his neck was
get like really injured off of this, but it was definitely some wild shit. We saw some great slams today.
Yeah, there's some great slams.
This was definitely
legal
like
slams.
We and Rob and myself and Miranda and Rachel, my wife, like we had a series of very long discussions about this. At dinner and then at drinks and then food after.
Yeah. But so that was one of the most notable things that happened at minus 66. But on top of that, we just have some really solid players still in the game. Down to the round of 16, Grippo's still in it, and Grippo has been looking good. He's been on a tear lately, just in general.
His nogi game has just
nogi is fucking solid
since quarantine and coming into like that camp that he's created with the Meows and with like Ray De Leon and like all those guys in Hoboken. Like his nogi game has just elevated.
It's looked really good.
Yeah.
Keith Kikorian's still in here, who's notable. He's looked really good. Couple subs coming into round of 16. Colabate's subbed his way into the round of 16 and has been looking really good in each of those.
John Calistein's here too as well.
Yeah, John Calistein and Colabate are in. That's the match for round of 16 for Cole.
Yeah, that's their first match
in
the round of 16.
Estevan Martinez has.
He beat Frank Rosenthal.
Yeah, beat Frank
in his
Rosenthal
most recent match in the round of 32.
Round of 32, which was, I think, a surprise for some people, but Estevan's looked really good lately. Frank Rosenthal's a solid jiu-jitsu player, could have easily won that match. I think both of them could have won that match.
I mean, we went to overtime, and it was even in overtime. Then Esteban's able to score 3 in overtime.
I think he got the pass at some point, and then he almost took Rosenthal's back, but didn't hit the points on it. But what I liked about that was actually I was watching the match, and I thought Estevan had lost because I was watching and I saw that the score was 3-0, and Estevan was still like cartwheel attempting passing in the last 10 seconds.
In the stands from the spectators, you can see the mat side TVs, and that's a new thing. ADCC previously had not had that, but it's really meant for like the coaches and the competitors because the names on it are very, very small. So unless you know like who's the red corner, and occasionally where you're sitting, it's all on the same level, so you can't see feet very easily because you're taller than I am. But
still couldn't see it.
You can't see the feet, so you can't see the tags, so you can't tell necessarily. A lot of times, okay, I see someone's up on the match. Yeah. I can't tell what I'm watching. And for this one,
and so
Esteban was fucking going like
at it like
left.
he was down, like it looked like he was trying to tie it up. Because there was not even a minute left. There was 15 seconds left, and the dude is cartwheeling, trying to get passes. Yeah. And so I'm like, oh, shit, Esteban lost. I thought that he had a chance on that one. I was really looking forward to seeing him move forward. And then I think Miranda was standing next to me, and he goes, he won. I was like, what the fuck was he doing for those last 30 seconds?
He's going for it, baby.
He was fucking going for it.
We love watching Esteban Martinez, and he's really like in the last, I think, 8, really, he's been around for a long time. And I talk about the gif of him at Purple, double-legging that super heavy.
Giant heavyweight,
and like, that's what I knew about him from previously, but like in the past like year, 8 months, he's really just come into the black belt ranks and just put on, again, that performance at Nogi Worlds he had was really indicative of like that style he's going to bring to ADCC and like the continuing to just like fight. And his sub in Nogi Worlds in the finals, like was quick, a rear naked choke. He's shown that here that he's just going to continue, even if he's up, to continue going. Now, it was interesting. You said he was fighting really hard even though he was up. ADCC, and they talked about this in the referees meeting that I went to, in the referee seminar I went to, and in the athletes meeting, like if you are up, we will call stalling on you. Yeah. Because we expect you to be the one to continue to engage because you are up. Yeah. Like you cannot begin disengaging because like we'll call stalling much more quickly on you. And I was like, oh.
That's smart.
Well, it's a lot of organizations don't do that. Like it's still like
JJF doesn't do that for sure.
Yeah, well, it's still even. They say like stalling is even. It's like you have to be doing this versus like ADCC specifically calls out the person that's up is the one that we will more aggressively.
Because that's when it's strategic to stall, and that makes sense that you would call that more.
I appreciate that ADCC makes that distinction and makes that change because again we get really interesting matches through and throughout where it's like it's very, very hard for the person in the in the point scoring position or like up to stall.
Yeah, and so then
we also have Gianni.
Gianni's in here, and Gianni's looked good. Subbed his way into round of 16 too.
He had a round of 64 match that went to decision, but his 32 match he ended in a minute and a half. Yeah, he's a guy I haven't caught much of his matches because he's been like on the mat, looking good, and then he's been subbing guys. Yeah, like again, a lot of these guys, and we'll talk about it later, where it's like he's had like 4 minutes of matches. Like I haven't seen him on the mat. Yeah, I've seen him go his hand. PJ Barge specifically.
So yeah, I mean, but this bracket's looking really exciting for tomorrow because some of these, sometimes you end up in these tournaments with huge fucking brackets, and then you end up with a stacked top bracket, and then the bottom bracket is kind of like, I don't know what's going to happen here. A bunch of guys
almost didn't get a bye; they had to fight through it. But like, you have like 4 guys that are going to meet in round of 16, and like 3 guys at the bottom. You're like, that's a weird like way that was bracketed.
Yeah, and so the top of the bracket here we have Grippo and Krikorian up top. And I mean, obviously, anyone in round of 16 is an incredible competitor. But like me thinking about who do I know that I could see taking it? Like
so good.
Krikorian looked good, and Grippo's looked really good.
2 silver medals at trials.
Sure, yeah.
He lost to John Combs in the East Coast Trials in 2018. Yeah. And then he lost to Nicky Ryan in the finals both times of the finals versus Nicky Ryan in West Coast Trials. Like Krikorian absolutely knows what he has to do to win in this rule set and is has shown that, and so it's cool to see him again fighting his way up through the ranks.
And so he and Grippo are on the top of the bracket, and on the bottom of the bracket we have Cole Abate, Esteban Martinez, and Gianni on the bottom of the bracket. And so like this is nice because they're even these guys that you might pick to take it based on what the 60-man bracket looks like in the history of these guys. Calistine is on the bottom of the bracket. Like bottom of the bracket has a couple more names that we would
we have Eric Hernandez, we have DeAndre Cobra in here, we have Adam Benayu in here as well. We have Fabian Ramirez, the guy that runs Four Stringers. Sorry. Another jiu-jitsu podcast that does professional sports coverage. We have Martinez in here, not different Martinez, not Gio. We have Ben Eddy in here as well. So this is like a
solid bracket,
really interesting bracket. And there's a couple other guys as well that it's super late at night, and I'm gonna butcher the names. We're looking at the flow brackets right now for this. So we're not gonna mention a lot of first names because they only give us the initial, and it is so late at night. I'm gonna butcher them, so I'm just gonna give you guys last names to make it a little better.
Yeah. So exciting bracket.
I'm super interested to see how it all plays out. But this is one where there's 4 or 5 guys easily that have a huge that is a I would almost say a coin flip.
Yeah,
like
and the bracket is
looks.
so evenly set right now that it's not like, oh well, this person's going to make it into the finals.
No,
clearly,
from here on out, 16. There are no. Every single matchup here is a hard match.
Oh,
for
obviously,
all of these guys, and it's cool. Like anyone can take out anyone else here, and that's like a really really exciting kind of bracket.
Let's move to 77.
Moving on to 77. Cade Rotolo.
Fuck man,
let's start off. Holy shit. He's been darsing people left and right. He did have a match go full time in the round of 32.
Yep.
His most recent match moving into the round of 16. He does win that on score.
Yep.
9-0 very comfortably.
Yeah, and it was not that he had a darce for a long period of time towards the end and wasn't finishing it, but like he was in it when he darsed everyone else.
Dude. He came out, dude. His round of 64, 54 seconds.
Yep.
54-second darce.
Yeah.
Round before that, 2:47. Round before that, he was buyed into that round, but like 2 darces in a row and a 9-0, looking really good. And he comes out so aggressive and so quick, and his wrestling on the inside has been just like people have struggled to like get in on him because he's quick and he's good on the post, and he keeps you honest with like neck positioning.
Yeah, I was talking to someone about Cade's wrestling and how it's progressed. I mean, both the Rotulas and how the wrestling has progressed, and it's this sounds bad initially, but it's what you would call like what people often refer to as sloppy wrestling, and it's not. And that doesn't mean like bad. It's not sloppy bad. And so you talk about Ben Askren. Ben Askren was one of the best in the fucking world, but people would also describe his wrestling as sloppy. It's not traditional clean wrestling. It's very scramble oriented,
almost like funk. And it's not like the funk.
I mean, that's why they call Askren funky and whatever.
Yeah.
Right? But like it's off the cuff, scramble oriented. I'm gonna do things that you're not used to, which is why we call it why it might be referred to as sloppy, because it's not these clean cut lines like you want to expect.
It's
weird,
like almost like fainting,
weird angles and things like that. And they play that game. Both Rotulas, but Cade has been putting it on display today.
Yeah,
they play that game very well. Just these awkward motions that they do extremely well, and it's really effective. And then Cade has been throwing darces fucking left and right on everyone as soon as he possibly can. It's been really,
and
really
again,
nice.
It won him $30,000 at Who's Number One. Like what? A month ago.
Yeah.
Like against the best guys in the world, he's shown that he can do it again. He has a fun match round of 16 versus Kieran. I'm gonna butcher his last name. Kickchuck. I think I'm blank again. It's midnight right now. I'm butchering his name. That's a super interesting matchup. Kieran brings a really interesting style, and he's just like a super hard dude for people to deal with. He's also been subbing his way through. Really quick sub in 253 round of 64, 146 round of 32. Like just putting the beatings on guys, and so that's a matchup that's going to be a tough one for Rotolo, because I don't know how much tape he will have had on Kieran, if he's just going to have to like basically go on his game. Another interesting guy we have in is Majid Hage, Gorilla Hands.
Gorilla
he's
Hands
in. So whoever is the winner of Rotolo and Kieran is going to go on to fight the winner of Hage, and I'm gonna blank on this guy's name. Can you get it, Zach?
Not right now.
Fudgeforn.
That sounds terrible. Probably not that.
Fungenforn? I can't. I'm not sure. He's beta. He's a beta guy.
Yeah.
Knockupon. It's Knockupon. He's a local guy that we know.
Yeah.
I can't get his last name. Knockupon. So Knockupon versus Majid is going to be an exciting match.
Yeah.
Majid has looked good. He's consistently outscored guys. Round of 64 was 7-0. Round of 32 was 3-0. That will be a fun match. Also, a guy I literally haven't seen a PJ Barch match.
Have not. And it's because he's subbed people in under 3 minutes in all of his matches, and I will look away and then come back, and I saw his hand grit raised once.
I haven't seen, literally, I was there all day. I haven't seen him on the mat.
I saw his hand get raised, I think, for his round of 32 win, maybe, but I definitely didn't see the match. He's just been subbing people too fast.
64 was 2.5 minutes. Yeah. Round of 32 was 1:49. Like
his first match. Let me see if I can go back to
128.
Yeah,
his 128 match was. Let me find Barch here.
Barch was. Oh, he didn't. He actually
scored 2-0.
Yeah,
versus Dante.
Yeah.
You pronounced Dante's name better than I did.
Muchamp.
Yeah, Muchamp.
At least I know another Muchamp, and that's how
I called him Dante Muschamp for probably 5 years, and you just corrected me this evening. I was like, I probably pronounced it wrong. So, if we are pronouncing your name incorrectly, please let us know.
Sure.
We also have Alan Sanchez. Alan Sanchez had a huge upset win over John Combs in the round of 32.
Yeah, it was weird. Combs, we know Combs. Combs won Trials last year, or last time.
Last East Coast Trials
Last East
in
Coast
2018.
Trials. Combs is an incredible jiu-jitsu player. He looked, even he won his first match this weekend.
Sub.
With a sub.
In overtime.
Yeah,
sub.
so an overtime sub. But even in that match, he looked... he always looks good, but he looked like he was not on his game. He wasn't playing his game like normal. Like maybe he cut in a weird way or had a strange cut or I don't know, is a little not feeling well, something like that. I don't know. Something might have been up with him. He seemed like he wasn't playing the game that we've seen him play a bunch of times. He's an incredible jiu-jitsu player.
He's looked good. He has the first round sub in round of 128 was a minute. Second round sub was...
I saw his second match. I don't think
second
I saw
round
his first
sub
match.
was in overtime, so 6:46. Third round was when he runs into Alan Sanchez.
Yeah, and Alan Sanchez subbed him in 1:16.
Yeah,
so,
relatively quickly in that match.
Yeah, so a great win for Sanchez. John Combs, I expect to see more of him. Maybe
I assume we'll see him at
West
Coast Trials. He's out here now, but he spent a lot of time in his career in Colorado.
Yeah, he spent most of his time in Colorado.
Would love to see him again. Super excited to see Alan Sanchez.
Yeah.
He's a guy that we've covered in the past, but haven't had a chance to cover recently in a tournament. So it's cool to get a chance to basically be able to probably tomorrow or when we do record the show, probably Monday. For the recap of all of this, talk about his game more in this round of 16.
Yeah.
Other exciting people in the bracket. John Satava has looked really good, outscoring and subbing his way into the round of 16 as well. We have Cody Steele.
Gotta fucking talk about Cody Steele's round of 32 match against Gonzalez.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Everyone Cody Steele has suplexed every single person he's had a match against.
I think he has. Dude, the crowd, I love it because every time he does, the crowd just pops the fuck off.
Loses
They're
it.
just woo! It's
the excitement.
And I love that all the Brazilian Fight Factory guys just bleached their hair.
Yeah, every single one of them bleached
their
their hair.
And they're super easy to find now on the mat, which is I was that's kind of funny. And then I have seen them all week. I'm oh, that's actually... They're all in the level black. They're all in the level black t-shirts or in the hoodies. Repping that with the bleach blonde, slim shady 90s like platinum blonde.
So fucking Cody Steele suplexed. He didn't even get any points for it because there's no point. You got to keep a person on the ground.
Points, yeah.
But no, it wasn't before points. He didn't keep him on the ground.
He didn't settle.
Right?
He
didn't settle.
Right.
And so Cody Steele Gonzalez, Cody gets behind for the suplexes him to the fucking ceiling once. They stand up, does it again. They stand up, does it a third time. I don't know how this dude's alive.
Dude, so I was warming up with Mike, and I was like, "What? Why are people
because Cody Steele is back to back suplexing someone."
And it's funny. I love him in ADCC because in IBJJF he's got DQ'd for this before, and I just love that all the events he's doing now, they're like, Cody, we know what you do. Here are your tools.
Third Coast is open to it. I love watching him in Third Coast because that rule set is
who's number one, Third Coast, all the stuff he's doing now. It gives him an opportunity to show off because that's most people that that is not a technique you get in wrestling in a year or two. That is a technique that you build up to.
Suplexes? Depends on what style of wrestling you're into.
The way that Cody does it though.
Yeah, he's got good.
He has good suplex technique, and he can get behind guys, and he's super confident.
He's good at getting behind
in that
guys.
lift. Yeah, he's good at getting behind and then locking the hands and just chucking them over.
Yeah. So that was an exciting match to go and watch because those suplexes were awesome. But then Cody won that on score. He's in the round of 16. His teammate, William Tackett, is in the bracket just below him. They wouldn't meet until the semifinals, but
which is cool because that'd be a weird. That's actually that's weird.
It sucks that they're even on the same side of the bracket,
and they're
those were. I think Cody Steele and William Tackett are two people coming into this bracket that were favorites at 77, right? And it's a little. The guys putting the brackets together have done an excellent job. Things are pretty evenly spaced in terms of
absolutely
the guys that you know that have been really competing heavily lately. They've done a great job.
We haven't run into any first round matches where it's these guys shouldn't have met.
Yeah, no, there wasn't any of that.
There's not a single one where I'm oh, these guys shouldn't have met. There's some there's some later rounds where it's like second round, third round. It's like, okay, these guys met, but I think they've done a really good job keeping the high-seeded guys. And it's one of the things that Mo has done historically very, very well was with bracket seeding. Like, he knows all of the guys, and he's done a good job of, like, you're not going to run into two guys that potentially should be in the finals and be medaling and placing, running into like the second round.
And these two meeting each other in the semifinals is fine. And we have PJ Barch, who's looked really good on the top of the bracket. Hage is also on the top of the bracket.
Yep.
Rotullo's on the top of the bracket. So like this is another one. Like, I mean, I guess it's the same as what we had mentioned before.
Well, and also let's talk about the bottom of the bracket now. We have JC Cavacante, Josias Cavacante.
Yeah, Cavacante got Tackett this match, and I think
he in the round of 16 he has Tackett as the first match tomorrow. Yep. That's going to be again a tough match. Cavacante has looked just in rare form. I saw him hit just a brutal high elbow guillotine where it's like his elbows were touching almost. Like, that's not an exaggeration.
Yeah.
Like, he had S-gripped so hard and turned so deep into that high elbow guillotine that like his elbows were almost touching. And I can't find what round that was in.
Yeah, I don't know. I must have missed that one.
I think it was his match versus Roberts in the round of 64 in 36 seconds. It was just a brutal high elbow guillotine.
With 5 matches going on at a time, it's hard to catch up.
Yeah, I was walking by and I watched. I was like, and I saw him throw it, and I was like, oh, that's wild.
Yeah.
So that'll be a fun match to see for Tackett. And then below him, we have a match between Pierre Alavela Clerk and Daniel Myra. For some reason, I think these guys have met before. I don't know why I think that, but Pierre Alavela Clerk from TriStar has just been looking like good. He has a sub in the round of 32 and 218. He has a sub in the round of 64 and 506. Just consistent looking good, really going into the legs well, and a lot of guys are having a big problem like getting out of his knee control, and like they'll fight it, but Pierre can just continue to get there, and he's threading guys in deep for like clove release, and they're struggling to like get away and get their hips on knees away from him.
Yeah,
that's been a kind of a consistent theme for this. Daniel Myra, again, also looking good. He's been a guy that's really relied heavily, more so than probably anyone else in the tournament that's made it this far, on that guard pull. And that
the
sideways
first 3-minute guard pull.
Yeah. And then really laying in. Like, he's a guy, and he's a guy we know, and he's got a great no-gi game, but he's a guy I primarily know for his gi and his lapel work. He has a great instructional with him and Nick Salez about some great instructionals for lapel work and passing. But he has made it work. You can pull in the first 3 minutes in ADCC, in the trials that are 3 minutes, with no penalty, and then after that you get a penalty, and then
which we actually saw. We didn't talk about it, but it was at 66.
Oh, the Deagle
match with that Deagle.
Yeah,
who was someone that people talk about and know, and he's had some really good runs in various tournaments throughout the past couple of years. And he came in very clearly trying to play.
Well, he'd been whipping dudes' legs off at 66. Like, I think his first 2 matches were like quick.
I think.
Was it one?
Yeah, just
okay.
One.
Like a really quick heel hook. And then
someone came in and tried to play his game. And then we're not on 66 now anyways. But the point is that the guy that he was against took him into overtime. But in overtime, you start back standing again. But in overtime, you're not allowed to legally pull guard, and he dropped his knee to the mat and got his negative point, and that's how he ended up losing.
Because he was almost doing, he was like kind of like still kind of fake, but he did it. He left his hand and knee on the mat for too long, and it was just over 3 seconds.
It's deemed a guard pull.
And they turned it as a guard pull, which per the rules, and this is a question I actually asked during the referees seminar, where it's like, look, if you have a guy that's doing that with knee down or hand down, like, are you going to count that?
Yeah.
As in they were like, that will be counted as a guard pull. And this is a specific instance where that question I asked during the seminar came up, and that was the case. And so he gets negative, and that is ultimately what kind of loses him that match. And so, again, know your rules. It was just a really interesting
And so that hasn't been Myra's issue, but what we're pointing out is just that the reason for bringing it up is just that it's a rules discussion where Myra has been pulling guard consistently well in that first 3-minute bit and hasn't had to go into overtime.
No, he can score. He can use it to score, and he's used to get underneath guys and to submit guys.
Yeah. Whereas the issue is if he's playing that game and he can't score, now you're going into overtime round where you can't do it. The interesting thing is, like, let's say he wins, right, and goes to ADCC where the rules are different, and now he can't play that pull game in the same way because you're getting penalties for pulling even early, right?
Yeah.
And so, it's interesting to see how games like that, the slight rules difference, very slight dual rules difference between trials and the actual event at ADCC, the World Championships, like that. Maybe it doesn't work out that well. Maybe you got to figure out a different game.
Yeah.
Leaving trials
but
going
again,
there. But
we have plenty of guys nowadays that have figured out how to pull in trials. Like they work the takedown.
Yeah,
and they sit after the 3
take
seconds.
a shot and then
you can do it. And Mo kind of like, I'm not saying he's encouraging it, but he's like, look, these are the rules.
Yeah.
If you are looking to pull, this is how you have to do it. You have to have a takedown that you look to progress for 3 seconds, and not like I'm here and bullshit. And you're like, I am actively looking to take you down, and then if it gets stuffed and I go to turtle, I can pull off the turtle with no penalty because I attempted in reality a real takedown that just wasn't successful. That's what Gordon did versus Buchecha. And Mo brings that up during the rules seminar, like, you know, he's down, he's going, he's sweeping, he's actively looking for the leg to actually look to take him down, and then when he can't, he can pull. He brings it up versus Bruno Fazada, Tinkino versus Paulo Meow. He goes, Paulo Meow gets stuffed by Bruno both hands down, but Paulo's consistently continue to swipe for the legs for a few seconds, like looking to continue to get Tinkino's leg, and then he pulls off of it, and it's perfectly legal. There is no negative for that.
Yeah.
So super excited to see how Pierre Alavela Clerk plays out versus Daniel Myra in the bottom of the bracket. We have Jay-Z Cavacante versus William Tackett. Next, we have Placido Santos. I'm going to Danaher's Uke. Placido, I think is what they call him.
Yeah,
versus Cody Steele. As well in the round of 16, we have John Satava versus Hanson. And we have Alan Sanchez versus Smith. I'm blanking on the guy's name. He's the Atos guy. We have PJ Barch versus Ramos. And we have Majid Hay. We've talked about these, the beating guys, and Rotolo at the top of it.
Yep.
Super
Pretty even bracket all the way across.
Wild bracket of 16. I can't imagine what that's like.
77 was a deep bracket to start with. You know, there's guys that we're not even talking about that were in here that are really solid players. There
were 215 people.
Yeah,
I think
signed up. We don't know how. I'm not actually sure how many.
I would probably guess close to 200.
Probably,
or in the realm of 200 and the 190s. You know, we've done it at 16. We've eliminated 180 people probably. That's a wild day of like level of talent that you've had to go through.
Moving on to 88.
Moving on to 88.
I mean, I got to keep you moving.
You do have to keep moving. I'm tired and I'll keep going.
I know you will.
We have Elder Cruz here. Elder Cruz has looked
phenomenal. He has looked dominant in each match. Looked really,
dude,
really
his
dominant.
last match to get into the round of 16, 13-0.
Yeah.
And again, props to Goto, the guy he was going against.
Stayed in. I mean, he kept working, but Elder Cruz has just been. His first match was 7-0.
His 32 match was 13-0.
13-0.
And then I think the round
64 match was 7-0.
Yeah.
These are dominant performances, getting to side control and maintaining that side
he's
control
also
for a long time kind of situation.
Intercepting takedowns, reversing takedowns, or guys will get really aggressive and try to shoot on him. He'll stuff and reverse, or he'll stuff and then reshot and take you down off of it. He'll also play heavy on the head. He'll make you tired, and then he just doesn't seem to get tired, and he just continue that pace. Again, the 6-minute match, especially with the stalling moves for ADCC, guys that are in good shape can just run that so quick. And Elder Cruz is just he's showing off.
Certainly in shape for it.
He's showing off that he can maintain that pace for the entirety of the duration of the match and use that pace as a weapon later in the match to continue to put forward pressure and take you down.
Yep.
It's been really a pleasure to watch. I've caught a couple of his matches.
I've watched all of his matches because he's someone that I just wanted I wanted to keep an eye on for this one, and he is not disappointed at all. He's got Van Cura in his first match tomorrow in the bracket of 16. Below them, we have Garmo and
Yadamarco.
What is it?
Sean Yadamarco.
I haven't seen any of his matches so far. It's not something that I've caught, but I've
last match took the decision. Not the decision. He won it on score. Garmo again won his last match versus Nielsen on score. 5-0. Both again a lot of ADCC. You'll find that the most matches are to 0. There's usually one scoring party.
It's a 6-minute match, right? You get one score, and at this level, you get a score, and you're lucky if you got that, you know?
And that's part of the way the rule set works, and Mo talks about it because it's very hard to score in ADCC. Also because the scoring criteria is super hard. They want
getting a takedown is a challenge in ADCC. You got to keep them down.
You have to settle them. And it's not just and it's 75% of their back has to be on the mat to count as a takedown. And that's That is not the takedown standard of most. Oh, sorry. To count as a pass. To get a takedown, you just have to put their butt on the mat. But
you have to do it firmly for
and you have
seconds.
to control them. So if they're hip heisting or coming up or trying to fight you up, like until you have settled them on the mat and their butt on the mat, it does not count. So guys can turtle off of it, and like it's not a takedown until like it's settled.
Until it's a takedown.
So there's a lot of matches that are just like, wow, that didn't count as a takedown. And I love to see it because it makes guys not just kind of accept it, it makes them really, really fight out of the positions.
Which I think is fun jiu-jitsu anyways.
Well, you watch guys fight out of positions that they can fight out of, where in previous rule sets they would just sort of accept that. These guys can now, like, I can fight more than just like, I'm down, that counted. I like that. Yeah,
so it was good. David Garmo's looked pretty good heading into this. I've seen a couple of his matches, one on score, and a ref's decision actually in the round of 64, which we haven't seen a lot of ref's decisions when we go to overtime. So the way the rules are working is there's one overtime match. If there's any scoring in the overtime match, obviously that person wins. Like, it's whatever.
I'm motioning to Zach to bring his mic up closer because I don't have any time to normalize and fix this audio if we fuck it up.
So it was one of the few refs decisions that we've seen throughout the day because you go to overtime once overtime's over, then it moves to refs decisions. It's just not happened a lot. Below them in this bracket, we have Nez versus Jay Rodriguez. Jay Rodriguez is Nicky Rod's little brother. And fuck, do we have a match to talk about with him. So
do we have a guy to talk about that we have not got a chance to talk about? We talked about him a little bit on Third Coast Grappling, and like he's a guy, he's now living in Austin with the B team, with all those guys, and I had a great video with him and Craig Jones, which is like from earlier this week that was like, J Rod's here with these guys, like training for ADCC. You were talking about his credentialing as a wrestler. Maybe it was Rob.
Yeah, I think it was Rob, but
talking about like how good of a wrestler he is at the level that he is, and he's like, he might be better than Nicky Rod at the level that he was at.
Oh yeah, he definitely was better than Nicky Rod,
which is fucking
like
wild.
In terms of not, I guess better's a difficult thing to say, I guess, but in terms of
credentialing as a wrestler in New Jersey
at those ages, like age to age credentials as a wrestler, Jay Rodriguez has higher credentials, better credentials at each stage than Nicky did.
Which is funny because you're like, Nicky won trials and then got silver ADCC like in like a year.
Well, also Nicky, yes.
Also at 99, a plus 99, which is a different division.
I'm not taking anything away from him. Anyways. So Jay Rodriguez has in his round of 64 match, is against Friedman for checkmate guy.
Yeah.
And this match, it was an exciting match. Jay looked good. Friedman looked really good.
Friedman looked really good.
Like he could have come out with the win on the match.
He had taken. Okay, so
start from the beginning.
Start from the beginning of this match.
So it was in 3 minutes in, it's a pretty good match. Like things are pretty even, and then Friedman shoots a bully double and then pushes Jay all the way across the mat. The ref starts calling it when their feet touch out of the mat. And Friedman absolutely was not stopping. Like the ref was calling stop over and over again. And Friedman kept pushing him into the chairs, basically.
Yeah.
Right?
Actually into the chairs.
Yeah, actually into the chairs, and then got a takedown off the chairs. And then when they stood back up, he was like, oh, what the hell? I got a takedown because they were resetting them, which was weird. Right. Because the ref told you to stop like 6 feet ago.
Yep.
So that happens. Then they do reset him, and this reset was weird. Like I don't want this to sound like the refs did anything wrong, because I think the reffing has been incredible this entire.
Yeah, I've been really impressed with the reffing
overall. But this was the one really weird thing that I saw all day, and the really weird thing was they said, okay, well, you clearly didn't get the takedown, but you were in the middle of a bully double, and so we're going to reset you in a bully double. And like when you see that in other places, a lot of times what they do is, the guy that was working for the double will put their head in position, will take their hands behind the other person's legs. You allow the other person to like drive a little weight forward, so you're recreating the situation that was happening.
Because you're restarting a dynamic situation as a static situation.
Right.
So you started with a little bit of dynamism in the direction that you were going.
Right. You get a little TP weight going. Like each person's pushing their weight in a little bit. And instead, what happened was they said, It went quick. It went fucking quick. Where the ref said, okay, we're gonna restart in the double, I think. And then Jay was just sort of standing there waiting for the position to get reset, and Friedman drops down into the double and fucking goes.
Yeah,
he picks him up and finishes the takedown
picks him straight up. He doesn't push him forward.
He just picks him up.
He just literally lifts him up
because Jay was not responding at all because it was a weird weird set. It
for me it wasn't, two things weren't clear. And again, I've only watched this once live Matt's side. So color all, I think you haven't watched it either yet.
I haven't watched it no.
So color all of what we're saying with like, we were Matt's side, this is what I saw. Yeah. What I saw is not necessarily the truth.
Sure.
If you're curious about this match, you should definitely watch it.
But this is what we were watching live.
This is what we were watching live. So Jay, like, it seemed like he wasn't like it wasn't clear that they were about ready to start.
It did not. It seemed like he was just standing, like regular ass standing.
Takes him down, and they were in the points period at this point.
Yep, just barely made it into the points period.
Gets the points, and then we're like, weird. Okay, so J Rod is like, and Friedman, to his credit, man, locks it down. He's like, cool, I'm down. Like, I got my points. You are Nicky Rodriguez's brother.
Yep.
I am locking you down here because I know you're a dangerous wrestler on the feet. I want to get my points. I want to win this match. This is what I have to do.
So he's in like half guard side controls kind of situations, and then Jay Rodriguez pulls like a buggy-ish choke, like a modified buggy.
It was a modified
sort of
buggy
thing.
choke, but it was like a variation of like a head and arm with like kind of the leg as like a leverage point.
Yeah.
But it's not a traditional buggy choke.
It wasn't a traditional buggy, but it like you could think of it very buggy.
But it was very much like if Friedman doesn't react properly to this, it is definitely a blood choke.
Yeah,
like
it's a choke.
It's a head and arm variation.
And so Friedman starts slamming him, which is legal, right? Picks him up, slams him.
The first slam is very reasonable. On the mat, you're in the choke.
And they were in the center of the mat for the first slam.
Second slam, he lifts him up and he walks him close to the edge of the mat. He slams him again. And then he lifts him up again and he walks him over to the edge, like off the mat, over the judging table, and then slams him into the judging table.
So weird.
And then everything,
weird choice.
Again, if you slam into that table, there's a bunch of electronics on that table.
Yep.
So it resets everything, and they have to like go bring a guy over to like reset the electronics, which they do. And
in that time, Nick walks over and says something to Jay.
Yeah.
Something quiet to Jay. And I talked to him about this afterward.
I talked to him about it as well.
So, like, Nick walks over, says something kind of quietly to Jay. Friedman's not paying attention. There's about 45, 30 seconds left
30,
of the match.
I think 30.
30-ish.
There's enough time where I'm like, Jay Rodriguez has to either submit him or he will lose this match.
Yes,
those are the two outcomes that I can in my head.
That was all I could think of, too.
Restart in the slam.
Nick Rodriguez this is the best coaching of the day that I saw by far.
I thought the slam into the table should have been a negative.
But still, he would still be up one.
But he's still up one.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter in the end.
Because he got 3, I think.
I think he was up 2.
Okay.
It was 2.
Thought he was up 3. I don't know why.
No, sorry. He was up 4 because of the pass.
No, it's not clean. It was just takedown.
It doesn't matter.
He was up points.
He was up points. It doesn't matter if he gets a negative point because he's still up points.
Would not have mattered.
So they reset. Nick Rodriguez says something to his brother. We're sitting here thinking, okay, the only way Jay Rodriguez wins this is if he's able to finish this like buggy choke modified thing or whatever.
That Friedman has just been slamming him in.
So Friedman, they reset the position in the center of the mat. Friedman picks him up to slam him. Jay.
No. What happened? Let me tell you. This is what we saw. Picks him up to slam, slams him, match stops, and Friedman is DQ'd. And everyone goes, what just happened? And I looked, and there's like probably 6 or 8 people around us, and I was like, I don't know what happened. I was like, he let go of the choke, and then he got slammed. He got DQ'd because you can't slam unless we talked about earlier. I think we talked about in the show earlier. I'm so tired. I don't know what we're talking about.
We did.
If you slam when there is no submission, it's a DQ. It's an instantaneous DQ, and that's what had happened. And Friedman goes, what the fuck? Obviously, he's like, he did not realize what was happening because it's a weird choke where it's like Jay Rodriguez is still on your neck, but he's not submitting you anymore. He's in like a controlling position. He's let go of it enough where
it wasn't barely even a controlling position.
It's
at that point.
Obviously not a choke anymore.
Yeah, he very much.
You're still on him in a way that's like a weird, like heavy position. So he slams him from that position. The referee goes, that's not a submission. DQ.
Yep.
And Friedman's very upset, and there's a big huff. There's a
lot of arguing,
a big kerfuffle that occurs. But it was like, again, I thought it was a really, and we both talked to Nick Rodriguez, and I was like, did you ask him? Did you tell him to like? He's like, yeah. And I was just like,
he goes, cool. Yeah, we knew the guy was going to slam him again, so. Yeah,
let go of the sub and take the DQ. He didn't tell us that, but it was like implied that like I'm Nick Rodriguez. I almost won ADCC. I understand the rules very well. And if you hear Nick Rodriguez talk tactically, that dude knows tactics.
Oh my god,
very well. He did a Q&A on the Instagram a little bit ago, and it was one of the first open mats they did. And it was a Q&A, and it cut to somebody asked a question, and they threw it to Nick. and then Nick begins to give a very, very in-depth answer. I was like, oh yeah, Nick really knows this game well, and he plays kind of the tough guy hanging up, but like he knows very, very astutely exactly what needs to be done in all aspects of this match. And he gave that to his brother, and his brother wins this match on understanding the rules. And it was just a really brilliant moment, and I'm happy that I knew what the rule was.
I know you feel like a very special boy.
I was so happy about that. I'm still like excited.
That nothing makes Maine better. Nothing makes Maine happier than feeling like a special boy because he knows the rules.
I know it makes me so happy. You're giving me shit for it, but you're true. It's so true. I love knowing like. That's a specific dumb rule. I love it.
So the rest of this bracket, that was an incredible show. Some of the best coaching that I think will happen this entire weekend.
Yeah.
Jay Rodriguez wins that match that he was very much going to lose. Had
that tactical decision
absolute
not
brilliant
taken
coaching.
Place.
He's now in the round of 16. He won his next match and is now in the round of 16 against Nez. We also, in round of 16 at 88, have this is going to be a super interesting match. Jacob Couch versus Achilles Roca, and so this is Jacob Couch, one of the Rocha. Yeah,
Wagner's
Roca.
kid.
Yeah, Wagner's kid.
Yeah, Wagner's son, who's now at
Jacob Couch
88,
is
which is just wild to me.
Yeah, Jacob Couch is one of the Daisy Fresh guys. He's had an incredible run in a couple events recently. Yeah. Biggest being the most recent Who's Number One championships. Yep. He was a fill-in and then won 2-3 matches. Took third, I think.
Took third. Yeah, he just like. He showed
got a
fucking
good leg lock game and plays it. He knows how to feed people into it. He knows how to work into it. But what really impressed me about his run so far was in, I think, round of 64, round of 32, he had someone that was sort of taking him off that game, wasn't letting him play the leg lock game. And we've seen some other guys this weekend that are like, I don't want to say one-dimensional exactly, but like
they have the dimension that they want to go in. It is your legs, and that's what they're going to be. Again, ADCC, we have guys that are leg lock specialists, guys that are takedown specialists, guys specialize in ADCC, and that comes out a lot of times in these big tournaments where it's like, I'm going to hit you with my A game, and then we can see guys 1 or 2 matches in thrown off of that A game, and we saw Couch get thrown off of that A game that he had, which is I'm going to go for the legs,
and then just play good jiu-jitsu instead. Like he got thrown off that game. He was clearly like not able to enter into the entanglements that he wanted to, and he was like, okay, fine, and he passed and took the back. And choked the dude out. Like it was.
Yeah, I can do other jiu-jitsu too. You're like,
right? Yeah, and like that's nice to see because he's not newer guy on the scene.
Oh, I think definitely he's a newer guy. He's a guy that we didn't. That
I wrote him off
Daisy
until
Fresh. We didn't know about. He was a purple belt. He gets this huge opportunity. Who's number one? He struggles a little bit in an earlier Who's Number One match on the super fights. Goes in the bracket and showcases like, when the chips are down, I can make adjustments and make changes and do it. And then comes into trials. Dude's in the round of 16 and coming to 88. 88 was the third biggest division.
And 88 was
a
deep
division.
Bracket. It was a deep bracket to start with. Like the talent pool. I mean, the talent pool in these brackets is very good, but like you look at the whole list of people in 88 and you're like, oh shit, I know all these names.
Yeah.
You know?
I know. I can list you matches of at least a quarter of the guys. Like list you, hey, this is a good match. This is a good match. This is a good match for this guy for a quarter of the bracket of damn near close to 100 people.
And so his matches against Achilles Rocha
had an interesting match earlier in the day with Quentin Rosenweg.
It wasn't even necessarily the match being interesting. The match was a fine match, but all of the nonsense was interesting.
That put Achilles in some deep water in a couple places.
Yeah. Quentin had a good entanglement set up and was attacking Achilles' ankles pretty heavily for most of the match.
And if you know Quentin's game, that is what he does. Like he is a leg lock killer. That is his A game. He takes your legs home, and he was putting Achilles had throughout the day had some really good leg lockers on his legs, and he was doing the right things. He was patient. Yeah. He was again very measured in his defense, and he has his dad in his corner. And Wagner has been there, done that. He's won trials 3 separate times himself. He's placed the ADCC. You want a guy you have a guy in your corner like Wagner. It's also your father.
Yeah. And so Quentin, at one point midway through the match, there's about 3 minutes left in the match. Quentin he's attacking one of Achilles' ankles, and Achilles sort of inverts
almost in the back take a little bit.
Yeah, he's sort of like working up for the back take, and Achilles inverts, and it's unclear. I don't think it was intentional. But
no, I watched it a couple of times. This is one of the few things I've actually rewatched.
But it could. Even though I don't think it was intentional, even watching it in retrospect, you could look at it and say, oh, that was intentional. And what Achilles does is he sort of inverts a bit, and then he goes to plant his foot, probably aiming for the chest
or the shoulder,
or something like that.
The angle, it's hard to tell.
And instead, sort of just donkey kicks Quentin in the face,
and it was
like
the lower jaw,
and it was like a hard
Quentin
kick.
Goes down, and he goes like he grabs his face, he's like, "Ow, that did not feel great."
And they reset it. It was bad enough that it was on the edge of the match, reset. And like it was a full reset though. Like it was bad enough that even the refs were like, "Wow, that was." We'll give something so we're going to give you 10 seconds.
It was an incidental hit.
Yes.
And we're going to give you a minute to recover because it was an incidental hit.
Yeah.
Like we reset it, and then later in the match there is a sequence. I forget how we get to the sequence because again it's midnight now. Mm-hmm. And Quentin he's starting to go for like the arm lock when someone is in your guard and reaches for the underhook, but doesn't get super super deep. That straight arm lock you can hit, and Rocha goes cool, stands him up. Yep. And like lifts him up almost like you're doing a lat drop. Yep. And he lifts Quentin up and he actually carries him a little bit off the mat and sort of like kind of chucks him. Doesn't throw him, kind of like throws him off of him.
Yeah, but the timing on it was a little weird because there was like a second left maybe.
It was
basically over and Achilles was up 2 points. It was the end of the match and Achilles was up 2 points.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't remember where the match was.
Achilles kind of like it again. Hard to say what anything happens, but I think from Rosenthal's or from Quentin's Rosenwig, I keep wanting to say Rosenthal, and that's not right.
Different guy.
But from Quentin Rosenwig's perspective, I can see why this might have been a little nasty, right? And so Achilles sort of kind of gives him a toss off the mat, and then the match is over because time was up.
It's not over quite yet. They come back to the center of the match, and Quentin shoves him in the chest, back into the mat.
My perspective of it was he shoved him on the way back to the mat, but the way back to the mat was for hand raising, not for.
Oh, okay.
It was over.
I don't remember.
The match was over at that point, and so Quentin kind of shoved him a little bit, and then of course. As you would, there's some arguing, and then Wagner steps in and grabs Quentin from behind. And I don't think Quentin even realized that it was Wagner grabbing him from behind.
No, Wagner doesn't do like an asshole. He like these guys are
it wasn't
fighting.
Like,
I'm reaching. I'm one of the coaches.
It wasn't aggressive.
I'm grabbing the guy close. Like he grabs him by the waist and he kind of walks him away.
Yep.
And then Quentin, I think, yells at Tex, who's in his corner. Tex Johnson, who's in his corner. Yep. And then Tex turns to Wagner and yells at Wagner. Wagner yells at Tex, and it's like. It was this whole weird sequence of again, we don't have any audio for it. I was Matt's side, but I was 2 mats over at the time.
Lots of arguing.
People are yelling, and there's a lot of it. And
it felt very much like I think people are a little more mature than they were at that point. But I saw a very similar thing happen at I think like Pan's 2009 maybe.
Yeah, the Pans fight.
Yeah,
that very famous Pans fight.
Yeah. I was there for that one, and like it kind of started the same.
Yeah.
Where there was some like nasty nits on the mats and then some coaches arguing and then a lot more people arguing and then a lot more people arguing and then half the room screaming at each other. Yep. And then this was handled
Mo Jassam, event coordinator for ADCC 2022 and 2019, steps in, gets
scolded some people like they were children.
Between Wagner. I don't think he scolded them.
He scolded some people that were instigating from outside of it. Like people that were just standing in the stands and were screaming things. Mo was like,
what are we doing here?
Who the fuck are you?
Yeah.
And like kind of scolded some people that then shut up. But
it was good. It handled situations. There was still some yelling, but like, and then other folks from ADCC came over like, you guys, we're done here with this. Yeah. We're going to move on.
And but so it ended.
It was definitely some wild shit that happened. And again, I also got the same thing, shades of like a Legacy Pans match.
Yeah, right.
So that was interesting. We have this match now, round of 16, Jacob Couch versus Achilles Rocha.
Yep. Exciting match.
This is a rough match for both guys. I think Rocha's better in the wrestling. I think Couch is a super dangerous leg locker.
Yeah, and it's interesting that it'll be, and it's interesting because Rocha has not, so he's been defending the leg locks well, but it's looked like he's been uncomfortable in the positions. Like he's been able to defend in a way that gets him out of the position into somewhere where he wants to be. But he clearly didn't, from my perspective, he clearly didn't want to be there. He wanted to get out of there.
Yeah, but I think I think that's correct. I think it's like he has also defended in a way, and a couple times where it's like he looks unconcerned as well. Like he's defending, he doesn't want to be there, but he kind of looks unconcerned. He was in a deep heel hook for a second, and then I looked at him, and he was just like, he kind of like moves his foot.
Yeah, but
and
there's
you're
people
like,
that are like that.
Oh yeah, you're not like that.
You're just
worried.
never going to see it on their face.
But that's very much when the times I've seen him. He doesn't want to be in leg locks, but he is like kind of unconcerned about being in leg locks, and like his defense is very good. very measured.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious to see if he's able to push Couch into this other
it'll
game, or if Couch is able to do what he did to like Roberto Jimenez, like get in the legs. Rantis is trying to get out. I think Rocha got very, very good defense there, but I'm just curious to see how the dynamic of that match will play out.
Yeah, it'll be exciting.
Those two guys.
That's definitely the match that I'm most looking forward to out of this bracket initially, right? Not out of the round of 16 matches.
Yeah.
A little bit further down, we have Bodoni, who won Nogi Pans this year, I think.
Yes.
And I think, that could be wrong, it's midnight again.
You go to bed at like 8. You go to bed at like 9.
9:30 usually.
Okay.
Yeah. This is late for me to be up and trying to be a human.
I have to edit the video show after this.
Yeah, but you also go to bed at like the butt crack of dawn every
midnight,
day. So.
1 a.m. Yeah, but I'm also been up since 6, so that's
I've been
unusual
up since 6
for me.
every day of my life for the past. Yeah. Anyways, so Bodoni's looked real dominant
going against
all
James,
the way through.
Going against James Braska, I cornered actually my match versus Mike and Bodoni. Yeah. I cornered against Gordon Ryan, which was the weirdest shit ever. I was like,
why didn't you outcoach him?
I tried.
I think that's your fault.
And then I realized that like I am coaching against the guy who is the current absolute champion, the current under 99
who is coaching
champion.
the current Pans champion. Yeah,
it's a tough. I was like, I kind of have a deficit of world classness here to coach against, and I was like, Then he shook my hand after. I was like, oh, that's what coaching feels like. Sweet.
So yeah, Bodoni has looked real good. He's been looking good in general recently, but this Trials he has looked very solid. Like no one that he's had a match against has really put up. Like no one has looked strong against him at any point.
He's subbed everyone.
I think he subbed everyone, and he subbed everyone from like late in the match with dominance. It's not like quick subs where he gets in and like catches something. These are, I am going to take you down, or you're gonna pull guard, and I'm going to smash the shit out of you.
His round of 128 was a score, was a 3-0. But other than that, submitted everyone else.
Yeah, it's he's looked very impressive through the day.
He's got a tough match again with James Brasko.
Yeah, Brasco's good. Brasco's looked good, and he can
score, and he can score on guys. The match above that, we have Adam Bradley, who had a really tough match with Rene Souza. That was very, very close. Went all the way into the overtime. Went very, very back and forth, and it was Ty Rotolo and Thor coaching against each other, and like at one point, Ty brings the chair like way closer to Thor, and so like they're like the chairs are normally like probably like 10 feet apart, and because Ty doesn't like where he's looking at the match, he like moves it close like within like 2 feet of Thor, and like they just keep coaching, and then after the match they like kind of laugh and like joke. I think they've win against each other before.
Have they?
I think so, but it was very funny to have the guys like a very, very close, very intense match in the round of 32, and then have the coaches like just be cool. It was just like a very cool moment of just like, your guy got the better of my guy, but like
Souza looked really good. Like there were some points where I thought he was going to score, and there were some points where I thought he was going to catch him, and then
because Adam Bradley, we know how much of a monster Adam Bradley is, and we've covered Souza before, but we don't get a chance to cover him as frequently as Bradley. Like he at the beginning of this match was putting Bradley in some real danger in some hard places before the scoring, and then later in the match, Bradley was able to come back from it
in overtime,
past the match into the overtime, and come back But Souza put up a huge fight. Great match. You should actually go back and watch that match. Adam Bradley versus Rene Souza, round of 32 for 88. It was a very fun match.
One of the last matches of the day too. It was an exciting one to watch.
So I was on the mat after that.
Yeah.
And so I literally got to sit there and be on deck and watch that match and that match alone, and it was cool. It was a very, very good match. So look for that. That's going to be that's most of 366. We also have a local guy, Christian Banghart, who I've watched for years and years and years in the local scene. He looked good, solid.
Virginia guy.
He's
looked really solid, and it's nice to see a local a guy that is really well known on the regional scale here. Yeah. That's in the round of 16 in a dense bracket. He's had some good wins.
Yeah. Dude does every local in Maryland and like Virginia, and like is consistently winning absolutes in our area. So it's cool to see a guy that I think we've actually both commentated his matches
commentated matches for him before. Yeah,
and it's really cool to see we've commentated Christian's matches. Like that's cool to see him like doing so well. Yeah. In this bracket. So that's that's the round of 16 for 88 under 88.
Yep,
should be just. Again, a coin toss for a bunch of these guys.
Yeah, it's a nice even bracket again. Like guys, the brackets that they put together, considering how many people they had to put in these, have led to some really interesting rounds of 16. I'm excited for it. Like, People are.
I love this because we're into 88 now, and I can't definitively pick any of these where it's like this guy's gonna win. It's like I see pathways for half these guys and half these matches to like easily take the entire bracket.
Yep.
That's
Agreed.
very, very good matchmaking. That also speaks to the strength of this tournament overall.
Well, yeah, that's true. It's
moving into under 99.
Yep.
Mason Fowler show.
I actually have yet to see. This is another guy that like I've been looking for all
I think
day.
I saw him triangle someone, and I was 4 mats away, and I was like, I think he's going to triangle that guy. And then I looked over, and he was getting his hand raised, and I was like, I think he triangled him.
He said 2 subs, 1 in 3:30, 1 in 50 seconds.
Yeah.
That's Mason Fowler's day. But Mason Fowler, one of the favorites going into this.
Yeah, ranked number one
bracket,
in the seeding here for the quarterfinals. So we're in 99 now. We're into the quarterfinals because it had less registrations. Yep. So we aren't going to go to round of 16 tomorrow. We're only going to go to the quarterfinals tomorrow.
So yeah, a round of 8 is what's going on tomorrow. Mason Fowler is in here. Another standout in this bracket has been Bones Johnson, Devontae Johnson, who has been looking like
jacked diesel,
fucking
with a shirt.
Well, he always does,
dude. He does, but
he fucking always does.
Usually he has like a rash guard on.
Yeah,
he's like full shirtless going, and you can
ADCC.
just see every time he lifts a dude up, you're just like, dude, he's so strong.
And he has been like fucking displaying his athleticism. I mean, we know Devontae is an incredible athlete.
Yeah.
We know that. We've seen it over and over again. Everyone understands that. But the displays of athleticism that he's been putting on this weekend have been
displays where it's like, I have the gas for this, I have the strength for this. I'm just gonna do this, and you cannot stop me.
Yeah,
like a guy went to single leg, and then he gets his neck, and then Devontae just like lifts and dumps, and
just
like
dumps him.
Oh,
yeah,
just beautiful technique. He goes against Dirkshire. I can't never pronounce his name.
I'm not gonna try.
Jacob.
Dirkshing.
Let's go with that. I butcher his name always. It's midnight. I'm very sorry.
It's past midnight.
We have Ardilla in this bracket as well. We have Hudson Taylor, who has previously won.
Yeah, Hudson Taylor's been looking really good too.
He previously won the plus 99.
Yep.
He won East Coast Trials versus Rodriguez in the finals.
Yeah.
Nick Rodriguez in the 2018 East Coast Trials. So again, Hudson Taylor knows what it takes to win this.
Yeah, and he looked solid in his first match.
That might have been Pex.
I don't know.
I said that earlier in the pre-show, and actually, for some reason, I'm thinking that's wrong. I know Hudson Taylor did this previously. I think Tex might have won the plus 99 bracket.
I'm not gonna remember.
I don't remember anymore.
Hudson Taylor's looked good this go around. He's got Gonzalez in the quarterfinals.
Yeah.
Potentially has Fowler. I mean, my
semis.
Yeah, my vote or my guess would be Fowler wins that fight, but it's the quarterfinals of ADCC Trials. You never have any idea.
It's way easier to pick because it's only 8. I would not be surprised to see Devontae and Fowler in the finals.
Yeah, that would be. I mean,
opposite
I think
sides of the bracket.
That's the obvious choice here, but also obvious choices are often wrong in ADCC. So I think any of these guys has a chance. Hudson Taylor's looked good.
How are guys feeling going into day 2?
Yeah.
Because again, this is the first trials. That's 2 days.
Yep.
Most trials are a single day. Again, most trials are literally way less than half the size of this. This is the biggest trials by double. Like ever.
So we see West Coast. I'm interested to see how many we
I'm
have
super
there,
interested. I'm gonna fly out there. That'll be fun as shit to do that too.
But so yeah, it's things look interesting for minus 99. I think choices are probably Fowler Bones in the final, and that'll be interesting to see if that comes through.
A bunch of guys can take that.
Could happen, yeah.
Especially under 9. Like it's a guy has a great day.
Yep.
And that's ADCC Trials and ADCC in general is like that's partially what makes it so exciting. Is like a guy has a great day. Like a guy that you didn't expect to win everything can totally do.
I mean, no one saw Lachlan making the waves that he did.
3 of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
moving into plus 99 because I'm about to.
Yep. I'm going.
Real
I'm fading.
Here.
I'm fading.
We have Pat Downey.
Pat Downey has
learned how to pass. Pat Downey learned how to fucking pass.
And one of the things that we were talking about coming into this, Downey was an obvious name in this bracket at plus 99. Not at plus 99 didn't have as many people in it. So like looking through the brackets, who's looking good here? Who would we pick? And you kind of ask yourself whether Downey is one of the people that you should pick to win here because he's run into some trouble here and there
with leg
recently.
Locks, specifically
In his transition to jiu-jitsu, he's run into trouble with leg locks, right?
Mm-hmm.
And even just recently, like 2 weeks ago, was
at Third Coast.
Was that 2 weeks ago or 1 week ago even?
So yeah, 2 or 3. I think 2 weeks ago.
So even then, so like he looked like he was struggling to even in the matches that he won there.
Yeah.
It looked like he was not defending the legs as well as he could. And he made some adjustments to the passing style that he's using for here. And now he's a little bit lower in the hips, a little bit more forward with his chest. He's not like wrestling stance, sugarfoot stance trying to enter in. He's lower and more parallel to the mat, which helps prevent people from getting the entanglements they want, and helps
getting
him
to his legs at all. Really,
getting to his legs. Yeah, he's keeping his shins in a way where he has more control over your legs before you get into enter.
Yeah,
and so he's able to keep that like body parallel to the mat and move in to start passing. And really, what he's been doing all of his matches have been the first time his first match, someone wanted to stand with him, which was weird. It seemed like a bad choice.
Shouldn't do that with Downey.
And so Downey won with wrestling there. But then his next 2 matches, he had people pull guard on him.
Yeah, they're like, no.
In the first 3 minutes, first 3 minute guard pull. Then there's attempts from Downey to pass for a little while, more attempts, and it was just sort of let me see what I can do. Oh, this guy's starting to get underneath me.
Yeah.
Back out. Let me see if I can get past.
And he's been passing all the way to north-south.
All the way to north-south.
Which I think is really funny because, like,
smart. Get the fucking legs out of the way.
You're getting your legs as far, and he consistently has shown, like, cool, I'm going to pass all the way to north-south, and that fixes the problem.
Stylistically, passing all the way to north-south is smart for ADCC because in order to pass, you need to keep 75% of their back on the ground.
And north-south does that.
Really hard to do if you're passing at the hips. I prefer passing at the hips myself,
so do
but I also know...
I'm a more traditional jiu-jitsu guy, though. Like, that's...
Yeah, sure.
With terrible wrestling.
But, like, it's challenging because people can turtle when you pass at the hips, especially in no-gi. In gi, you have options to, like...
Some more grips and things you can hold on to use.
Whatever, but in no-gi, it's harder. So passing all the way to north-south is pretty smart. So Dowdy's look really good. He could actually take it. We have John Hanson...
Yeah, he's looked really good as well.
Solid as well.
Honestly, the guy Downey's going against in the first round, David Ramos, has looked really good as well. I've been impressed with his stand-up wrestling again, and he hit a really nice Harigoshi versus Adam Baker in the round of 16. They had a little bit of weirdness towards the end of it. Looks like
that was a weird match.
Like a shoulder injury for Baker.
Adam Baker looked really good in his first match or two as well, and. It looked like in the last 20 seconds, Baker, like Ramos, kind of like shucked him a bit, underneath the armpit, and I don't know.
He like stuffed a takedown in like on a shot entry, kind of weird, and then
shucked him
his
over
arm
from an underhook, and then Baker kind of.
But Ramos is a guy that's looked really fun and dynamic. He goes against Downey his first round. Sorry, I cut you off against.
No, that was it.
Against Hanson. Hanson's a guy that's looked.
Hanson's looked good,
phenomenal.
And so I could predict. I am predicting based on this how Hanson looked today that Hanson and Downey end up in the finals together. Again, this is the quarterfinals at ADCC Trials. Anything can happen, but
absolutely anything.
Hanson's looked really good. He's had some dominant top game control. His round of 16 match was a sub in a minute.
Yeah.
His match before that was. Actually, I'm not sure how he won, but it was a longer match. It was score. Yeah, okay, that's what I remember. 18-0. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, like, that was just an absolute show of dominance in that match. And
so that's why we're hot on him because he's again ranked number 1 and has accumulated a bunch of points.
Yeah.
It might be actually a points total, by the way. Is what I'm guessing because this Flow Arena is a kind of offshoot of the wrestling bracketing they use.
Yeah.
And they do it for a lot of wrestling tournaments. So you accumulate points is kind of how you affect seeding for those.
I have no idea how the
so it may actually be just accumulation of points for how these guys are ranked.
Maybe.
But I don't know. Downey had a match he scored 8-0, or sorry, Baker earlier. I would not be surprised to see Hanson and Downey in the finals. Again, the other 4 guys in the division also can absolutely get it done. Let's move into the women's under 60 kilograms.
Under 60.
Again, this is a crazy bracket. We have another quarterfinal. So the winner for this gets a free bid into the West Coast Trials, free entry.
That's tough. I understand why they have to do it that way because you just don't have as many seats open. As many
registration numbers just aren't in line with 77, which only has 16.
Yeah.
So we've talked about this in earlier shows. This quarterfinals bracket is anyone's game. We have Brice Marie, we have Kate Egan in the quarterfinals first match. Both have looked phenomenal in their earlier matches. Really, we have Jasmine Rocha and Matthew. I'm blanking on her first name. Matthew in the quarterfinals.
Yep.
Jasmine Rocha has looked fantastic. Had a really quick sub in her round of 16. Again, Wagner's been coaching both Achilles and Jasmine through their trials run. Great coaching. He absolutely knows what needs to be done there, and both have done fantastic.
She's looked really good. She had a beautiful heel hook fast in her round of 32 match. Came out and fucking planted it. Yeah.
Where's that? I'm trying to find that now because I'm curious.
Jasmine, it was. I'm not going to be able to pronounce the name. Kuligani's.
No, round of 32 match. It was a score overtime. 9. The round of 16 match.
Oh, round of 16. Sorry. I got confused because this is quarterfinals that we're talking about.
We only have 8 now.
Just shifted. Round of 16 is what I was talking about. It's round of 16 match.
Yeah, we have Heather Rafferty versus Enriquez. From Atos, both of them from Atos. Atos, Atlanta, I think, versus Heather is actually at Atos, San Diego. That'll be crazy. And the other match for this is Trinity Pun versus Fatima Klein.
Yeah,
Fatima took out two people. Brie Robertson
looked really good.
Brie Robertson Hannah Sharp.
Yeah. Brie Robertson looked good. Brie Robertson's first match was quick and decisive, and then their match was actually going really well. It was a very back and forth, nice looking match, but 338. Klein's able to sub her. Yeah, it was good match, and Brie looked good.
Is someone that we've just covered a little bit before, but everyone has been telling us that she is next level. And I think we saw her at Who's Number 1, and then maybe at BJ. I forget. We've covered her a couple times and been extremely impressed with her, and then this tournament shows like
she looked good
for good reason.
Yeah. And Brie Robertson was ranked 3 coming into that match, and Fatima won that one. Scott Trinity Pun.
Yeah.
Who again has also her round of 16 match was very dominant. It was a ref's decision in overtime, but
still dominant
performance. She's looked really good. This will be an interesting match to see how that goes. I honestly think Rafferty and Klein is what we see in the semifinals there, and that's a match that I'm excited to see.
I think I can see that. I have no idea.
On the top bracket, I'm not sure what we're going to see.
Wins this bracket. I think Klein. I could see Klein going far.
Seeing after Klein's performance in her first 2 matches.
But again, can you get past Rafferty? That's the other question. It's like I just don't know. Like, and then Rocha has looked really good. Like, can you?
It's hard to predict with her because we haven't seen her much.
We've seen her a little bit, and we've covered her on like Fight to Wins and other things, but she hasn't been in a lot of like black belt brackets. And we typically on the show will mostly cover the black belts. She just hasn't been featured on those as much. I don't think she's not a black belt yet.
I think she's still like 16 or something.
So I wish I had more footage to go off of to like be able to make a better prediction here. I have no clue. I could see Fatima in the finals. I could see honestly any of these. Pun. I could see Egan. I could see Brice Marie. Like Matthew. I could see any of these women in the finals. They've all looked great thus far.
I actually have missed Brice Marie's matches, but she's an obvious choice as well.
Yeah, she's been good. Quick sub in the round of 16, and then I think in the round of 32, she had another later sub in 433.
Oh, that's not that late.
I mean, it's 4 minutes. 4 minute subs. In ADCC, it's late, but it's like it's a 4.5 minute sub for every other rule set. That's a quick sub.
Yeah,
especially at the black belt level, where most matches for IBJJ are for like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So I can't make a pick here, which for me
it's hard to make
rare.
a pick, but I think all 8 of these women look really fucking solid moving into this this bracket.
Let's move on to the final bracket that we have left, the women's plus 60 kilogram.
Kendall fucking Roosing.
Dude.
She has looked, her wrestling has been absolutely on display today.
Yeah.
It was.
I mean, it's reminiscent of her run for trials in 2017.
Yeah.
Where it's just like she just takes people down. She's like dominant. She's got great hips.
Yeah.
People can't get around her to like throw her off the base.
She's got that collar drag outside trip that just is so smooth.
We're seeing her lean into her judo a little bit, but a lot of the wrestling.
Her wrestling has looked so good today. And I mean, we've always known she's had it. I think some of her fight to win matches, right? There's a different rule set, and you're kind of focused on something a little bit else, and
we've
so
seen her like less willing to show it off there recently.
Yes,
but here
she is not being shy with it. And looks really good.
Yeah. And props to her. Her sister got submitted on the mat next to her right prior to her match with Elkin, where been Kendall's match with Elkin.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's got to be like, you got to get your mind back. And she's able to get her mind back immediately in the match versus Elkin. And it was just very impressive to like literally be warming up, watching her sister compete, watching her sister get triangled, and like, okay. And that
her sister looked really good.
She looked amazing.
Her matches
and I was
too. Like,
honestly super
her sister's
surprised
wrestling
by her
looked
triangled.
very solid, and then she just got caught. You know, it was one of those things that she was putting on a display, was definitely in the lead, made a mistake, got caught, right? And that was that.
But again, we've not got a chance to ever cover her sister at all.
No.
So like it was cool to see.
I think her sister's younger than her, and Kendall's kind of on the younger side as far as jiu-jitsu goes anyways.
I think so. I think she was one of the youngest trials winners ever.
Yeah.
At the time. I think she was 15 when she won trials in 2017.
Yeah, that makes sense
to
me.
So I think she's like early 20s.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. And I think her sister is younger than her.
I believe so, yeah. I know so.
And so I expect to see, based on her performance thus far, I expect to see a lot out of her in the upcoming years. And that's not surprising necessarily, but...
Yeah. Caitlin Peak has also looked really good in this, just consistently getting around. She takes out Kat Zingano in the round of 16. Zingano looked like a monster earlier. Again, a very, very close match, and Zingano was really putting it to her late into the match, trying to get the score back. Ends 3-2 in favor of Peak, but Peak, someone, again, haven't got a chance to cover much, or I think ever. This is the first time ever. She's a Matt Serra grappler. Cool to see her. Again, always cool to see new names that we don't get a chance to speak about on the trials, because people like show up for the trials in a way they do not show up for other events. This is another really hard one to pick. I am in this bracket, I'm going to be fully honest, I am most familiar with Kendall, so I'm going to go with her.
And Peak beating Zingano is a big step, right?
Yeah, and I was able to actually catch all of her matches today, and she just looked consistently good with her passing.
Yeah.
Like she was able in every match to just get by and pass.
Yep.
And like that's, then leverage and kind of continue to push that offense.
But at the same time, watching Kendall's display today, it's going to be hard for me to bet against her for this bracket at all. She's looked really, really solid.
Yeah. So that does it for ADCC Trials. Those are all the divisions. Watch tomorrow. If you're catching this in the replay, go back and watch some of the replays. We'll do a much kind of in greater depth detail,
more technical aspects
recap of 16 on for most of the divisions, or really the semifinals or quarterfinals onward into the finals on our Monday show that you'll hear Tuesday. If you have stuff you want to hear between now and then, let us know. Or matches that you think we missed or that you think that we should go back and rewatch, by all means, let me know. I want to know what I missed and what I should go back and rewatch, because being Matt's side and being there's just stuff that we miss.
5 matches at a time is hard to keep your eyes on.
With the turnaround of the shows, it's hard to do. Like ADCC only has 3 mats. Trials has 5. It's just much harder to kind of keep a beat on, especially the late. I can't imagine what tomorrow's going to be like for matches.
It's going to be wild.
So I'm looking forward to it. Zach, any closing thoughts?
Good night.
All right. As always in the show, I'm your host, Maine. I'm the co-host.
Zach.
We are the Grappling Rewind. We'll see you on the mat, whatever it is. Stay safe. If you like the show, please consider sharing it on Facebook with the folks at your gym. It's the best way that we grow the show, and we really appreciate it. You can reach out to us on email.
We also have Instagram. We have Facebook. We have Twitter. We have Google+.
Until that shuts down.
We have a website.
If you have an event you would like to have us cover, please let us know. If you have a name, like most people do, and you'd like to have us stop butchering it,
let us know.
Reach out to us. The show is also available on YouTube, Spotify, in addition to iTunes and every other podcast service. We very much appreciate your time, and thank you.